Hi, my name is Priyanka Nayak. I am an internal medicine physician as well as a life coach. Professional moms hire me to uncover an energized, less stressed life. So, before I get started, I'm just going to see if anyone wants to listen in live. If you're listening, if you can type in hashtag live, if you're watching it live, or hashtag replay, if you happen to watch this later, that way this video ends up reaching more people and hopefully help someone because that's the goal. All right, I'm just going to tell a quick anecdote about my 2-year-old because that's, of course, always endless entertainment. So, obviously, everyone knows that kids are just totally addicted to screens. And in our household, we have really tried to shelter my son for our son from, you know, videos, TV, etc., iPads. And with my parents, especially my dad, he's a complete softie and pushover. Whenever my boy says, I want video, video, he gives it to him. So the other day, he my my 2-year-old asked me and my mom to leave and said, "Go to work, go to work. I want to stay here with my dad so he could watch videos." And my mom refers to it as cheap popularity, which I think is hysterical. But anyway, that's the way to get popular with a toddler pretty quickly is hand them your phone, your iPad, and it's amazing how quickly they like learn to not only hold the phone so that they're not, like disrupting the video, but also just like scrolling through. He scrolls through like an expert, like he's always had a phone. It's actually disturbing. Anyway, so today I'm going to talk about um, one of the things that I think is so important in having a fulfilled life, that is finding home and stability within yourself. One of the things I think that we're really good at doing is being our own harshest critics, making sure that we really know when we screw up, we highlight that for ourselves and we beat ourselves up and we make sure that we realize we do it. And obviously, try not to make that same mistake again. We're experts at that. Something that we're not so great at is being our own cheerleaders and really looking within ourselves for answers, for validation, for fulfillment. One thing I'll challenge you to ask yourself is, who do you want to live your life for? Are you living your life for people who are passersby, acquaintances, not wanting to be embarrassed in front of them? Or are you living for what you think is best for you, what you know would make you happy and fulfilled? Are you boxing yourself into a certain career or living in a certain house based on other people's expectations of you? Something to think about and ask yourself and really start evaluating what is important to you. And that's how we start living our life with purpose. When I first, a few years ago, I knew I wanted to do something beyond medicine and I played around with a couple ideas and I would be really quiet about it. I wouldn't tell my friends, I wouldn't really talk about it. I was so embarrassed to step outside of that box of medicine. It was so embarrassing for me. And then I realized there were a lot of other people doing the same thing, which is obviously helpful, but I started becoming open about it. I used to be so afraid that if I tell people, "Oh, I want to be a life coach, I want to have a life coaching business," and if I fail, it's so humiliating. But truly, who cares what other people think? Like what difference does it make? And a lot of times people just put their own projections of their own fears onto you. So you do what you want to do. You want to talk about dreams, ideas, go for it. So one thing that is critical in feeling that stability and fulfillment within ourselves is learning to trust ourselves, which can take a lot of work and a lot of time. When I was in my 20s, I literally couldn't make a decision on my own at all. I would call my best friend, I would call my mother, run everything by them, like full scenarios, and make a decision based on their advice. I could not decide anything on my own. And then at a certain point, I realized I had to grow up and actually trust that I could make the right decision and know that if I didn't, I would learn from that and give myself some compassion, learn from that, and move forward. So, how does one build self trust? Because it's so tough to do. I think what things that I often tell my clients, I tell them to reflect on their past wins, things they've done well, things they've done right, especially for you doctors out there, right? You managed to get into medical school, you managed residency, you managed to do a good job with patients. So, you clearly are doing something right, making good decisions, and doing very well for yourself. Trust in that. What mistakes have you learned from? There are plenty of mistakes I'm sure you've made along the way. Are you able to have some compassion for them? And then think about how you didn't repeat that mistake, you learned, and you move forward, you kept going. How about keeping promises to ourselves? Promising ourselves, let's say, an hour, 2 hours of free time during which we are undisturbed, being unabashed about that, and the power of no, saying no, for example, to keep that promise. We trust other people who keep their own promises, right? So we have to keep our own promises to ourselves. Being kind to ourselves, we're not going to trust somebody who's mean to us and treats us terribly. Treating ourselves as a friend, being kind to ourselves, having compassion towards ourselves, that is how we make friends with ourselves. That is how we trust ourselves. And I know this sounds kind of kooky, but it is, I've talked about this before. It is crazy how mean we are to ourselves. How can you trust yourself when you're treating yourself like crap? You can't. So learning to treat yourself like your own best friend, that is huge in feeling that trust within yourself. And then you really start to feel that inner stability, groundedness, and coming home to yourself. Doubting your doubts. We all have doubts. Sometimes it's better to realize what the doubt is and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, that's a doubt. And screw it. I'm going to do this anyway. Embracing our humanness is another way we can trust ourselves. Embrace your humanness, realize that you make errors, know that that's a part of the process. It's allowed, it happens all the time. And the sooner we accept that, the more relaxed we can become and also learn to trust ourselves. Finding your tribe, people who will love you unconditionally, regardless of your decisions, and support you no matter what. That is huge in trusting yourself and trusting others, right? And really honing in on your own power. I find this is something I discovered recently. And in a world where we feel like we literally have no control over anything, we actually have a ton of control on ourselves, our lives, our choices, our thoughts, honing in on that control, which is really powerful, and taking that power and using it for good in our own journey. That's another way to trust yourself. So, what does all of this trusting oneself do? What is it going to do for you? Well, like I said before, you're going to feel that inner stability, inner peace. You become your own best friend and support system. And you realize that everything I have, everything I need, I have right here within me. It's all right here. Instead of constantly looking for that external next best thing, external validation, external circumstance, it may never come. New shit is always happening. There's always something to deal with. So if you are able to find that peace within yourself and not only just find, but create it, you will find that you have a much more content life. The other thing it helps in is if you trust yourself, you tend to trust other people more. I literally used to trust nobody. I used to have so many trust issues with friends, in relationships. And I think the root of that was that I didn't trust myself. And the more I trust myself, the more I'm able to be vulnerable in my relationships, in my friendships, and it actually feels really good. Also, just that feeling of safety. All most of us want to feel, human instinct, survival is you want to feel safe. And if you can trust yourself, feel that inner fulfillment, you will feel safe no matter where you are. I mean, there are obviously exceptions to that, but let's just say on a regular day at home, you find safety within yourself and that makes you at peace. So that's pretty much what I have to say today about self-trust and really finding that inner fulfillment. This is just a glimpse of some of the stuff that I talk about with my clients and that we discuss in order for them to really get their best life, and really find it in here because the outside stuff is often circumstantial and new things are always going to be coming our way, new challenges, and we really have to create that stable inner core to keep coming home to, keep coming back to in order to really feel at peace. If you find this interesting or you want to chat and think about working with me, direct message me. Check out my website, www.stresscleansemd.com. And I've been updating the blogs more frequently recently. So check those out because I really try to write from my heart. I love writing. And, um, I hope that the things that I write really help people, because that's really what it's all about. So thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you next time. Take care.